Hello. I want to start off by thanking everybody for their likes, shares, and subscribes and comments because I really appreciate it. And go ahead and like the video if you can resonate. This is how we get the message out to other people that can hopefully use some of the information that are in my videos. Today I wanted to talk about the topic of mental illness, mental breakdowns. And the idea of this topic came to mind because when I look back on my own family line, and on both sides of the family, there has been several people that, the family calls crazy, or they've had mental issues, or they had a mental breakdown, or, just all sorts of things. But basically, it's you're not normal. So you're going to be called mental if you're not like everybody else. And there is a stigma on these words because nobody wants to seem like the crazy one in the family. Nobody wants to seem like the person that, is seeing things, hearing things, different things like that. The journey that I am on right now in my life is the people that they call mentally ill or had a nervous breakdown or things like that aren't crazy. Sometimes these people that we call normal are crazier than the people that we consider having a mental health issue. So now I did look up some definitions and some things on mental illness, and when I looked it up, they said, depression, anxiety, bipolar, ADHD, ADD, schizo, obsessive compulsive disorders, autism, PTSD, eating disorders, substance and addictions. All of these things can be considered mental illness. And when I look at a lot of these things on the list, they could say I got a mental illness, because a lot of these terms I have been, told, once or twice. No, I haven't been diagnosed with anything, but I diagnose, myself based on what Google said or what, somebody in the family said. And I'm pretty sure if I went to the doctor, they would say the same thing. But from a spiritual standpoint, if you're a spiritual person, which all of us is just some people just don't tap into it. If you sit and meditate and you quiet your mind instead of pumping your mind with music, TV, talking to people all the time, different things like that. If you quiet your mind, you're going to hear, and you're going to hear different things, and you might hear things that other people don't hear. That ain't nothing wrong with you. That ain't you being crazy. Everybody is not the same in this world. So for them to say that because you see something that somebody else don't see, something's wrong with you. Because you hear something that somebody else don't hear, something's wrong with you. So let these doctors tell you, and listening to these Googles, you're going to think that something's wrong with you. And I'm here to tell you that ain't nothing wrong with you. You might just have a different mindset on different things. You might, just dissect different things that people see differently than the next person. In fact, being a spiritual person, you're going to hear, how do you think that people that have intuition, people that they consider psychics or prophets, how do you think they hear messages, before their time? So we cannot go ahead and fall into the trap where we think something's wrong with us because we get a nudge that's telling us we're in danger. Or, we might see, some people see spirits. You need to go within and you need to talk to the Most High God that's within yourself to find out what's going on with you. Now, if you're at the point where you're going to hurt yourself or other people, then I would think that that would be classified as something where, you might have a mental illness, different things like that, because you're putting yourself in danger and you're putting others in danger. But if you're seeing things, if you're hearing things, if you're smelling things that people don't smell, that's just your own natural abilities. And so we can't put everybody in this box where something is wrong with them because they're different. So, and I just want to tell y'all, I'm transparent. I can fit that box of being mental ill because I've experienced a lot of things. I've heard a lot of things before they happen. I've saw a lot of things before they happen. I smelt things that told me something's off. So, if I listen to them, then that would drive you crazy. That will ultimately drive you crazy because you think something's wrong with you. So I'm here to tell you, ain't nothing wrong with you. You just got a different way of thinking. And if it's to the point of where you can't get out of bed, where, you're not eating anymore, you're hurting yourself, then yes, you might have had a breakdown. And so they said some of the causes is childhood abuse. So a lot of the times, and the causes, I've been through all of them: childhood abuse, trauma, and neglect. And a lot of us have been through all of these things. What I've noticed is the enemy or lower vibrational energies try to attack you when you're a child. That's why we got so many adults walking around here in pain, walking around here hurt, walking around here, they done gave up on themselves years ago when they were children, because they're still stuck in that mindset. They're still replaying hurtful events over and over in their head. And so it's up to us to get ourselves out of that stuck mindset. It's for us to work on healing ourselves. Do I feel like things can be healed? Yes. This is just a way of, like I said, a way of your mindset. So a lot of the times our thoughts is our thought patterns that will trigger some of these things that's replaying over and over again about how we were traumatized, how we was hurt, how we was abused, how we was neglected, different things like that. And it is up to you to maybe take a journal, write down your thoughts daily so that you can see, well, what triggered me to think about back when I was 7 and I got abused? What triggered me to think about when, my ex, we got into fights? What triggered me to think about the neglect and being at home with my parents and they not being there, or, any different thing that you may have experienced? We have to really figure out what is triggering thoughts that are essentially hurting ourselves, because just keep thinking about things that happen to us that hurt us. You're hurting yourself now because you're no longer in that space. You're no longer that kid, at that age when you experience trauma. You're no longer in that relationship that may have caused you severe trauma, neglect, abuse, So even with the narcissistic relationships, it's like we can't keep replaying those events again, over and over again, of coulda, shoulda, woulda. That can hurt ourselves. We're no longer with these abusive people, but the fact that our mind keeps replaying it, it's like the narcissist, they got you. They got your mind. You can't even live in peace now because you keep replaying over and over again the events that happen to you. Also, it says social isolation or loneliness. There's times where, you've been isolated. You might be a person that's different than everybody. And like I said in my previous video, ain't nothing wrong with being different. In fact, embrace difference. We all are not supposed to be the same. I don't care if we look similar. I don't care if it's somebody in this world. Everybody said they got a twin. I don't care if it's somebody that look closely like you. It's still something different about you than it is about that person. Even identical twins, one might have a freckle, one might not. One might have a beauty mark somewhere, one might not. So we all have differences and we should embrace them. We should not be isolating people or so quick to call people crazy in our family because we don't know what they've been through. We don't know what event has triggered them into seeing a different mindset, seeing how things work that's differently in the world. So, and for the breakdown, they said signs for the breakdown is hallucinating, paranoia, panic attacks, loss of interest in things, mood swings, emotional numbness. And like I said, again, I've been through all of these things, but everybody's been through them in certain periods of their life, even if it's just for, a week, even if it's just for, a couple weeks, a month, it is when it's a prolonged feeling of, basically, like I said, you're hurting yourself. You're re-triggering these thoughts are re-triggering you. And you might need to seek professional help as far as talking to a counselor or somebody if you don't have anybody that you trust that is in your immediate circle, your family, your friends. Everybody don't have friends. Everybody don't have family that they can really trust and tell them what's going on in their mind. So it is best to seek out a counselor. Don't just say, I ain't got nobody to talk to. I'm just going to deal with this on my own, and then still hurt yourself. Keep thinking about things that hurt you. Keep, hurting yourself. Keep, being addicted to these different drugs, these different people, these different, all different types of addictions that we can delve into. Because, again, we're trying to numb something that has happened to us. We don't want to think about what's happened to us. We don't want to think about what's happening maybe right in this current moment. And so again, a person that has experienced a lot of this before, I'm here to tell you that you can overcome it. I've seen people in my family where, they are so far gone in their mental breakdown of what happened. It's because things kept happening over and over again. And they never got a relief. They never was able to heal from the last thing that happened to them because something else happened. And then something else happened. And then something else happened. And then that is what causes you to split mentally. With me, myself, I feel like, and it could be you too, because you're watching this video. So you got to be strong. You could have kept a positive mindset. You might have had things happen to you where, you might have been in the mood for a time, and then you was able to come out of that. You may have been in a moody, depressed, low energy in a season, but you came out of that. And so you're able to bounce back from all of these, these mental breakdowns and hallucinations and things like that, because you're able to keep your vibration high. That is the key, basically, how I feel about the mental illnesses, is because you're keeping yourself at a high vibration to where nothing can touch you. Yeah, you might not have nothing but $2 in your pocket and you got to feed your family. How you gonna do it? Well, sitting around being depressed saying you ain't got no money ain't gonna feed them. So then you figure out something else. You have the spirit of not quitting. You have the spirit that you're not going to give up. So, that is a great spirit to have. And we should go around and we should be helping the people that we see have nervous breakdowns. Sometimes they need somebody to just listen to everything that they've been through. Sometimes when they reached out to you before they got, into such of a condition where they can't get out of it, they just needed somebody to talk to. They just needed a shoulder to lean on. They didn't need to be called crazy. They didn't need to be hung up on, they ain't talking about nothing. They weird, and so it's easy for us to go ahead and join in with the crowd and say this person is crazy, or this person is depressed because they got a divorce, or, it's so easy for us to put people in a box, for us to label, for us to judge people when we don't know what somebody's been through. So, I brought this message because it's near and dear to my heart. Like I said, I know a lot of people in my family where people have wrote them off, called them crazy, and I'm one of them. Especially going through the dark night of the soul, where you have to face your shadow side and you have to see the things that's wrong with you, the things that need to be healed with you. So people are going to call you crazy. One thing about it is, don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. That is one way that you prevent, having a breakdown, because at the end of the day, mental me, it starts with me, M-E. So it's all about you and the way you thought, the way you process with your experiences. How do you break, toxic thinking patterns, different cycles that you're going through? How do you bring yourself out of situations where may be not good for you, may be dangerous? How do you get yourself out of these situations and then go and love on yourself and heal yourself? That's why I'm bringing a lot of these messages, because the key thing is for us to heal ourselves. A lot of us don't want to go and talk to a counselor. A lot of people ain't got people to talk to. So that's why we're trying to find ways to help ourselves. I wrote out a little list of how I help myself, because I'm one of those people where I've always kept a high vibration. It don't matter what I've been through. I'm always happy. When people see me, they might not think I am, because I don't wear happiness on my face. I'm not always smiley. I'm not always a person that's going around smiley. I usually have a serious face. And then when somebody talks to me and engages with me, I'll go ahead and flash them a smile, because I know that helps people feel warm and make them feel better. So, but I've always been a person that's been happy. And I know that there's people that they're not like me. They're coming from a place where they may always feel sad, and then they need to get to their happy place. A lot of that comes from being confident in yourself, not being a quitter. You being confident in yourself, you're going to find different things that's good about yourself, even when you feel low. So some things that I wrote down is, you need to go through the 5 stages of grievance. You have to. When you see that something in your life has something that you thought to be real is not real. People that you thought loved you and they don't. All kind of situations. Jobs you thought, this is going to be your forever job and you got let go. I can name so many things. You was a child and you got abused and it wasn't your fault. You've been neglected a million times. So you have to grieve what you thought you knew and accept things for how they are, and that's I feel like that is about accepting reality versus, what it ain't. We have to come into terms with what is our reality, what's real. Because 9 times out of 10, if you've been hanging with somebody you thought they loved you and they don't, it was never real. Childhood abuse. Yeah, that happened. That was real. You did get abused. But you're however old right now, and is that going on right now in this current day? No. So yes, it's real, but that's things that happened in your past. Should you still be thinking and dwelling and hurting yourself over things that happened as a child? We got to get to a place where we're healing. And it's not only for, others so they won't call you crazy. It's for yourself. First and foremost, it's me. It starts with me. So, affirmations, we need, like I said, if you don't know good things to tell yourself, because a lot of people don't know. I've always, like I said, you might not believe, but I've always heard God. I've always heard my ancestors tell me good things about myself so I could never feel down. So I wouldn't believe all the negative things that my mama was spilling out when I was a kid. So I wouldn't, be dwelling on the fact that my dad didn't want nothing to do with me. I always had good things that was told to me, and I knew that I was worthy and I was worth it. So you got to know that about yourself. No matter who told you what, no matter who did what to you, you're worth healing. You're worth moving forward. You're worth growing. You're worth learning to love yourself in the proper, healthy way. So don't let the enemy defeat you. And I don't even blame my parents for what they did, because, the enemy took over them. And that's okay, You got to learn how to put up boundaries and move forward. I'm not sure what y'all went through. When you're going through a mental breakdown, you need to be doing maybe a more physical job. So if you got a job where you just being able to move your hands and, instead of doing something where you have to think about it in your mind, then maybe you should switch jobs, because you don't need to be using any of your mental power to work at these jobs. You need to be focusing your mental power on healing yourself. So you might have to take a less paying job. You might have to take a job that you might not like just to get you through this period where you done had a breakdown and you feel like you can't come out of it. Reducing your hours of employment. This is things that I did to overcome me having mental issues, and I saw that it was prolonged. It usually is a season, but this time it was longer than normal. So I reduced my hours at work because I was like, I need to focus on healing. I can't be sitting up here worrying about working for somebody else when I'm crying every 5 seconds, when I feel like, not good about myself. I need to work on healing myself. So that always works. Auto pay on your bills. You ain't got time to be thinking about what bill is due, You need to make sure that your bills are just coming off on a prepaid debit card or something, to where your bills is paid and you can be focusing on healing yourself, mind, body, and soul. So this is some things that I did to overcome this dark night of the soul, this period, because it's a rough period where, you see the truth in a lot of situations, a lot of people, and you don't know where to go. And you might have always been a loner. So, reduce your sugar. When you at low vibrational, you tend to crave sugar. I was eating candy like a mug. I was eating junk. And, that is showing that I'm at a low vibrational state, because usually I don't even eat sweets like that. So you will be craving sugar. So reduce your sugar intake, and that will help your mental. Reiki healing. So these are some things that's outside of the box that a lot of people might not be familiar with. They might not feel like, they believe in it. Even when you go to the pastor at the church and they're putting hands on you and they're praying for you and they sending you healing energy, it's something like that. But you can do it with yourself. Maybe you don't go to church. Maybe you don't have spiritual leaders that can send you some healing energy. So you can also just, think positive about yourself. Touch yourself with your own hands, and your intentions is to heal. You can say that. Put your hand over your heart and say, I want to heal my heart. Put your hands on your mind. Say, I want to heal my mind. And God is listening. You want to heal. That is the intention. The universe is listening. That is what you're going to get back, is what you put out. Volunteer. So during this period, I knew that the thing about me is I'm a giver. And when I couldn't give anymore, that will break you down. But at the same time, I didn't have anything to give because I was being attacked mentally, emotionally. And I was having a split, where I still wanted to be a good person, but I felt like the people that were around me, the situations I was in was hurting me, and it was one of the worst pains I ever felt in my life. But I still volunteered at shelters, abuse shelters, because and it was a shelter that I'm close to, where the shelter had apartments for these victims, and so I would go and put the apartments together. So you can still do something if you know that you're a giver, and you might not be able to give to your family because they done called you crazy. They done wrote you off. You can't give to your friends because they feel like you too nice or you weak or whatever they done said because you don't fit in with them. Go volunteer. Volunteer for some people that actually appreciate you. Then you can see people that's maybe in worse situation than you are, and you know that you're helping them out even when you're hurting. And that doesn't take a lot of mental power. That just takes kindness, so heal those addictions. So, you going through a mental issue, you feel like you don't know where to go. Smoking, drinking, having, sex, doing all kind of stuff. That's not the way to go when you're trying to heal yourself. Now you just feeding the addiction, and what is it doing? You still don't feel better, because guess what? You still got to do it again. You still got to smoke the next B. You still got to smoke that cigarette. You still got to go lay up with that person one more time. You still got to, whatever your addictions is, you still got to sit up and watch TV and be a couch potato all day long because you addicted to just soothing yourself by sitting down on the couch. You still going to keep eating, overeating. We need to heal the addictions, because guess what? The addictions is going to constantly need to be fed. And instead of feeding the addictions, we need to be healing ourselves, feeding our minds with good energy, positive thoughts. So instead of feeding all these other things, let's feed what is good and important to us. Face your shadow side. For a lot of times, especially people pleasers, and I'm one of them, where I was a people pleaser, where I didn't know how to say no. I was being nice to, the people that I was coming across. I felt like, I want everybody to feel good when they come around me. Well, that's cool and all, but you got to face that shadow side, and a part of your shadow side is, there's a light and dark. That's how you balance. And so you ain't got to be a person that say yes all the time. You ain't got to be a person that's smiling and trying to make everybody feel good. That ain't what you're supposed to be doing. Because at the end of the day, people going to see you as weak. People going to see you as a pushover, things like that, if you go and be nice to the wrong person. So heal your shadow side, whatever you got going on. I'm not for sure. That's what I had going on. Whatever you got going on that you was running from, and that was what I was running from. I knew I was angry. I knew that if the wrong person kept crossing me over and over again, because it takes a lot for me to get mad, I will snap, crack, and pop. I kept trying to avoid that for a lot of years. And then when you keep avoiding it, then you get into these situations where you going off on people, and then people think you crazy because you've been this nice, happy-go-lucky person, and now you done snap. But really, you just tired of the BS. You probably done allowed them to do too much for too long. And now when you stand up for yourself, they looking crazy at you. So that's why you have to develop boundaries, so you won't even get to that point of where you feel like you're being taken advantage of. Get some sunlight. I know so many people that suffer from depression, different mental illnesses, and they don't want to go outside. If you don't take your tail outside, the sun has so many vitamins, and a lot of the times people suffer from depression, especially because they're not getting enough sunlight. I know in the winter months, this is sometimes when the depression is at an all-time high. Plus they got all these holidays that they add on to because they feeding off the people that's depressed, so get you some sunlight, get you some outdoors, go hug a tree, put your bare feet in the grass so you can ground yourself, so cause you can get out of your head. That's the importance of touching your feet to the ground. Come down, ground yourself, earth yourself, so your head won't be in the clouds so much. This is the things that help me. No social media. You don't need to be on there trying to see who in a relationship, who got this going on. Oh, they look cute, they got money, That's not where you're at. Your mind is something off. You need to be focusing on healing yourself, not worrying about who got what going on, who's looking like what on social media, you trying to hook up with people on social media. Disconnect from social media altogether so that you can heal. You can't heal if things just keep re-triggering you, and you keep worrying about what the next person got going on, or if somebody like your photo, things like that. We're not worried about that. We're worried about healing our mind, body, and soul. Have patience with yourself. So I'm going to be, very candid with you guys. Hey, it took me almost 3 years to get over the fact that my dad said he didn't want nothing to do with me. 3 years. I thought I could just happy go back. Like, oh, it ain't nothing. But then you start thinking about how loyal you've been to this family member. You start thinking about all these things, about how you could have been cut people off if they would have told you a long time ago. No, it took me a long time to get to the place where I feel like I'm happy. Even you can get so low to where you can't even function. You can barely work. You can barely eat. You can barely think. You can barely, even read, You can barely do anything. You can't even see. Blurred vision. You will get blurred. PTSD will cause blurred vision where you can't even see. So it's very important to heal yourself. It's very important to just be patient with yourself. It ain't no time. There is no time limit, or nobody can't tell you how long it's going to take you to heal. So that's up to you. It's a personal journey. So heal yourself and be patient with yourself and forgive yourself for all the things that you allowed, all the things that's happened to you. Forgive yourself. Forgive the people that wronged you. Forgive, why they don't want to do. Okay, I still forgive them. I still love them, but I ain't messing with them. People's done stuff to me. Yeah, I got molested a million times. Hey, I forgive those people. You got to move forward because it's something wrong with them. It's not something wrong with you. So don't take on other people's problems and make them your own. That'll cause mental illnesses. And like I said, thought patterns. So you have to write down everything that triggers you to thinking negative, everything that keeps looping you around, because you're stuck in a loop. I want y'all to know that you're stuck in a loop. You're stuck in a toxic cycle, and it's with your thoughts. Where something happens, then you start thinking about something that happened to you that hurt you. Then you go into eating, or you go into doing whatever your addictions are, or you go into, woe is me. So let's break the pattern. Let's see that we're going through a pattern. We're going through a toxic cycle, and let's break this. So I was just bringing you guys some helpful things to work on when, people say you had a mental breakdown. I feel like, you're breaking down the fake between the real. You're trying to figure out what's false and what's real, and don't be ashamed of it. Everybody's done been through it a time or two. A lot of people has a lot of things that, they've been diagnosed or undiagnosed illnesses. And it's not that you're crazy. It's not that, you're alone in this. It's a lot of people out here. But if you don't want to go and reach out to somebody else, work on it with yourself. Do the things that you can do for yourself. The things that can heal you. Always be hopeful. Always be grateful that you woke up. Always be grateful that you do got something to eat. It's always somebody that could, that's doing worse than you, that would love to be where you are. So just being grateful, just being, make a gratitude list. Write down the things that you're